All right, everybody, today I'm going to start to make a hot sauce out of these ahi lemon drop peppers. This is my first year growing these peppers and I've really enjoyed them. They have a great flavor to them and are about 15 to 30,000 Scoville, which is a good range for me. But I've got a decent amount of them picked here, and then I actually have some ahi fantasy peppers in here too. These are actually the same species. They're Bacatum variety of chili peppers. But yeah, these are the ahi fantasy, and then I have mainly ahi lemon drops here. So I've just got these washed, and I'm about to get them cut up to start our fermented hot sauce. All right, in addition to our peppers, I'm actually gonna add some white onion today. This is a smaller white onion. This is one I grew, and they taste great, but they're not the biggest. I'd say this is probably about half of a regular white onion that we're gonna be adding. And I'm also gonna add a lime to the ferment too, just to kind of build off the citrusy notes that these ahi lemon drop peppers already have. So I'm gonna rough chop that all and then add it to just this 1 quart fermentation jar and get it going. This quick rough chop on everything is gonna increase the surface area of our ingredients, which will allow them to ferment faster, and it also helps with packing the jar. All right, I just halved all of those ahi lemon drops and put them in here. And then for the limes, I don't know if you can see, I cut the lime into quarters and then took the skin off of it, or the rind and the peel, just because after fermenting, we're just gonna blend this. So I don't want that bitter rind in there. And then my little onion, I just did into some thin little slices and kind of topped it with that. And that way, when I insert this spring in here, that'll push this all under the brine. It'll have something to kind of push against and keep all of this submerged to get that good lacto fermentation. So that being said, I'm about to make my brine. I'm gonna make it with just kosher salt and water. I've zeroed my scale in grams for this plastic container. So I'm gonna fill it with water and then add 4% salt by weight of the water. So we have 661 grams of water. I'm going to now weigh out about 26.5, 27 grams of this coarse kosher salt without iodide in it, because that's important to let the bacteria grow in here. Then we're just going to give it a stir until all of this salt is dissolved to make our brine. Next, we just have to pour this into our fermentation jar until all of the ingredients are submerged, because we want that good anaerobic bacteria to do the fermenting. It's probably good there. You want to leave a little room at the top. Okay, now the spring should keep everything below the surface, like I mentioned. So we're going to put that on and see how it's forcing everything down beneath the surface of that water. So I'm gonna put that on, and then I'll put the lid on to hold it in place. And that looks beautiful. I'm gonna put this into a cool, dark place and just let it get going on fermenting, and maybe ferment for a couple weeks before we do our next steps. So you can see everything's held down by that spring, and it's looking really good. Okay, this is 1 week in and we have fermentation. All of these bubbles are being formed as the bacteria eats sugars in the peppers and makes carbon dioxide that you see. Plus, it's actually turning the brine more acidic. So this is after 6 weeks and the brine has gone pretty acidic. The peppers have gotten way softer. You can see that springs kind of compressed them all to the bottom, and we are ready to make our sauce. So first, I'm going to strain all of my peppers out of the brine, just using a mesh strainer, but I'm catching the brine to save it. We will use some of it in the final sauce just because it does have all that good salt content in it. But just straining the peppers out, and then we'll get to blending. So I'm adding my peppers, onion, and lime to the blender first, and then the rest of this process really is just a matter of personal taste and balancing flavors to what you kind of want to see come through in your final sauce. So I'm going to start out with the brine, and I'm going to add about a half cup to it. The brine's really salty and almost a half cup. Let me get a little more of that. The brine is obviously really salty, but it's tangy as well. So it adds really good flavor profile. And I added a half cup of it, and then I'm going to add a half cup of white vinegar as well. This is distilled white vinegar, just to give it that classic hot sauce bite, kind of balance out the tangy flavor. So we'll start with that and blend it up. Our initial try came out a little thicker than I wanted, so I added an additional half cup of brine and an additional half cup of distilled white vinegar just to add a little more liquid to it. The consistency is definitely a personal taste as well, so you can just do whatever works for you. But after adding some extra liquid, it came out just like I like it, and the sauce is definitely edible just as is right then and there after blending. Some of you guys will definitely roast me for this, but I am giving mine a quick pasteurization on the stove. And again, this is completely optional. There's definitely pros and cons of pasteurizing or not pasteurizing, but I chose to pasteurize this time just because putting in bottles, I don't want any pressure to build in my bottles. And speaking of which, these bottles are just reused ones from store-bought hot sauce and store-bought salad dressing. So this is a small batch, and I'll just put it in here, keep these in the fridge, and throw it on anything and everything till they run out. They'll definitely keep for several months this way, and I don't think we'll have to worry too much about that because this stuff will be gone way sooner. This sauce came out excellent. I love how the flavor of the lemon drop peppers carried through. Like I mentioned, they've been one of my favorites to grow this year. The plants are just really pretty, very productive, easy to grow. So would recommend growing those if you're a gardener. But yeah, the sauce came out excellent. It's got a good heat level for everyday use for me, and then it's got that great tangy and citrusy flavor. It's nice and smooth from the onion, and it's also got that good bite from that fresh vinegar we added at the end. Hope you enjoyed this recipe. Be sure to subscribe for more.